Hero without a mask. In Spider-Man 2, one of the most emotional reveals ever seen in a superhero movie takes place. Here, Peter Parker struggles to balance his personal life, his job as a photographer, and the responsibility of being Spider-Man. On the other side is Dr. Octopus, a brilliant scientist who, after a disastrous accident, becomes controlled by mechanical tentacles fused to his own body. After an intense fight on top of a moving train, Octavius sabotages the system, sending it hurtling forward at full speed and putting dozens of passengers in danger. With no other option, Peter jumps to the front of the train and uses his webbing and his own body as a brake. The effort is so extreme that he loses his mask, becomes completely exhausted, and collapses right after saving everyone. The passengers rush to help him, stopping him from falling and gently carrying him back inside the train. When they see his face, everyone is shocked. One man quietly comments that he's just a kid.
Just a kid.
When Peter wakes up and realizes he's unmasked, he panics, but instead of judging him, the people hand the mask back and form a silent pact. No one will tell his secret. It's a simple but powerful moment, and one of my favorite scenes in superhero cinema. And when Dr. Octopus returns to capture him, the civilians themselves step in front of the villain. But yeah, it doesn't go very well.
Very well.
Love without a filter. In Deadpool, the climax delivers one of the strangest and most romantic moments in superhero movies, exactly the way only Wade Wilson could pull off. Wade starts the film as a former mercenary full of sarcasm who falls in love with Vanessa, a woman just as unhinged as he is. When he discovers he has terminal cancer, Wade agrees to take part in an experiment led by the villain Ajax, who promises to cure him and awaken latent powers. It works, kind of. He gains an accelerated healing factor, but his body is left completely scarred, destroying his self-esteem and pushing him away from Vanessa. After the final battle, with Ajax defeated, Wade finally finds the courage to reunite with the love of his life and reveal what his face has become. But staying true to the character, he doesn't handle the moment seriously. First, he appears wearing a second mask, a piece of paper stapled to his face with a photo of Hugh Jackman on it, buying time before the real reveal. Vanessa rips the photo away and finally sees it. Wade is visibly nervous, expecting rejection, but her reaction is perfect. She mocks his appearance, cracks jokes, and quickly makes it clear that none of it changes how she feels about him.
It's a face I'd be happy to sit on. Come here.
The speech. In Iron Man, Tony Stark is a billionaire genius, owner of Stark Industries, famous both for his weapons and his extravagant lifestyle. After being kidnapped in Afghanistan, building a suit of armor to escape, and deciding to use his technology to fight evil, he secretly becomes Iron Man, while the entire world tries to figure out who the man in the metal suit really is. To keep his identity hidden, S.H.I.E.L.D. agents put together a classic cover story. They hand Tony cue cards with a prepared speech, claiming Iron Man is just a highly trained bodyguard employed by the company. It's the kind of convenient lie that's worked in hundreds of superhero stories. The problem is, Tony Stark doesn't follow scripts. Standing in front of cameras and a crowd of reporters, he starts reading the lines, clearly uncomfortable. He hesitates, looks at the cards, tries to keep it together, and then just gives up. With that signature half smile, he drops the line no one expected.
I am Iron Man.
The silence is immediate, followed by collective shock. That moment completely shatters the masked hero formula, throwing away the secret identity cliche in the very first movie. Interestingly, the line was improvised by Robert Downey Jr. and went on to become one of the most iconic scenes in Marvel's cinematic history.
I am Iron Man.
Stolen face. In Watchmen, directed by Zack Snyder, the unmasking of Rorschach is anything but heroic. The story takes place in an alternate version of the United States, where masked vigilantes were once celebrated as heroes, but were later outlawed by the government. Rorschach is one of the few who keeps operating in the shadows. Rigid to an extreme moral code, he sees the world in black and white, with no room for forgiveness or compromise. After walking into a trap, going to Moloch's apartment for an investigation, and finding him already dead, with police surrounding the building after an anonymous tip, Rorschach tries to escape through the front, opening fire on the officers. He fights, struggles, but is eventually slammed to the ground and restrained. In a brutal gesture, one of the cops yanks his mask off by force. The reaction is immediate and disturbing. Rorschach screams desperately for them to give his mask back. To him, that shifting, ink blot patterned mask isn't a disguise. It's who he truly is. Without it, what's left is Walter Kovac, an ordinary man, red-haired, freckled, with an empty stare shaped by years of trauma, neglect, and accumulated hatred. The reveal offers no relief. It only reinforces how completely broken this character is. From there, he's taken to prison, where he proves his reputation isn't exaggerated. Surrounded by criminals he personally helped put behind bars, Rorschach delivers one of the film's most famous lines.
None of you seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you.
Scarlet face. Captain America: The First Avenger. The first time Steve Rogers truly faces his greatest enemy happens in a setting worthy of a classic villain reveal. The story unfolds during World War II, as Steve, newly transformed into Captain America, leads missions against Hydra, commanded by the ambitious Johann Schmidt. During an assault on an enemy base, Steve finally comes face to face with Schmidt. After a brief exchange of blows, the villain climbs onto an elevated platform and decides to stop pretending. With unsettling calm, he raises a hand to the side of his face and literally begins peeling away human skin. What seemed like a normal face is revealed to be a latex prosthetic mask. Underneath is the Red Skull. Schmidt explains that he's no longer an ordinary man, and he was the first to test an imperfect version of the super soldier serum. And despite the grotesque side effect, he believes he's reached a higher level of evolution. It's in this moment that Steve realizes he's fighting someone willing to sacrifice his own humanity in the name of power. Behind the scenes, the look was created using silicone prosthetics applied daily to Hugo weaving, a process that took about 3 hours, later enhanced with digital effects to remove the nose and deepen the cheekbones. Lost Friend. Moving on to the sequel in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. The big reveal happens in the middle of a relentless chase, turning a spy mission into an emotional gut punch for Captain America. Steve Rogers now works for S.H.I.E.L.D., trying to adapt to the modern world while facing threats tied to Hydra. On the other side stands the Winter Soldier, a silent, highly skilled assassin with no apparent past. After a sequence packed with explosions, Steve finally confronts the villain in brutal hand-to-hand combat. The fight is raw, full of heavy hits and rapid movements. In a decisive moment, Steve strikes his enemy's face, knocking the protective mask off. When the Winter Soldier turns around, Steve freezes. There stands Bucky Barnes, his childhood best friend, the skinny kid from Brooklyn who fought beside him in World War II and was believed to have died decades earlier after falling from a train. But to Bucky, it means nothing. Hydra erased his memories, rewired his mind, and turned him into a living weapon. He's moments away from pulling the trigger when Sam Wilson, the Falcon, arrives and breaks the moment. From that point on, the film shifts in tone. The political thriller becomes personal. It's no longer just about exposing a global conspiracy. It's about saving a friend stolen by the system.
I'm not gonna fight you. You're my friend.
The Deadly Dance. In Batman Returns, directed by Tim Burton, Bruce Wayne's identity is revealed in 2 completely different ways. Bruce Wayne is the lonely billionaire who protects Gotham as Batman. Selina Kyle starts out as a timid secretary, but after being betrayed and nearly killed by Max Schreck, she returns as Catwoman, embracing a darker, more unpredictable side. The two share a strange romance, constantly torn between attraction and rivalry. The first shot comes during Shrek's charity ball. Interestingly, Bruce and Selina are the only guests without masks, as if their civilian identities were just another disguise. As they dance, they begin repeating lines that only Batman and Catwoman could possibly know. Selina mentions that mistletoe is deadly if ingested. Bruce finishes the sentence exactly the way she said it weeks earlier on the rooftop. The music stops. They stop moving. Their expressions change instantly. Without saying another word, they understand who they really are, Batman and Catwoman, standing face to face. Later in the film's climax, the reveal carries real weight. Inside the Penguin's lair, Bruce tries to stop Selina from killing Max Schreck. To prove that he understands her pain, he does this. Bruce begs her to stay with him, saying they're the same, broken down the middle. Selina even admits she'd love to live in a castle with him, but says she could never live with herself if she let Schreck walk away unpunished. The Secret Revealed. In Superman 2, the Man of Steel's identity is exposed in 2 very different ways, depending on which version of the film you watch, and both take place during a stay at Niagara Falls, with Lois Lane growing increasingly suspicious of Clark Kent's strange behavior. Clark is the shy, clumsy reporter at the Daily Planet, while Superman is the most powerful hero on Earth. Lois, also a journalist, has sensed for a while that something is off about her awkward co-worker, and she decides to investigate on her own. In the theatrical cut, the reveal happens almost by accident. Inside the hotel room, Clark trips over a bearskin rug and falls, placing his hand directly into a lit fireplace. Lois rushes to help him, but quickly realizes he wasn't hurt at all. No burns, no pain, no marks. Cornered by the evidence, Clark completely changes his posture, removes his glasses, and speaks with a totally different presence. It's the moment he stops being the bumbling reporter and fully becomes who he really is. In Richard Donner's director's cut, released in 2006, Lois is far more direct. She confronts Clark in the same hotel room and, without warning, does this.
I risked my life.
Clark calmly removes his glasses and tells her that if she were wrong, he'd be dead by now. Only then does Lois reveal the gun was unloaded. She just needed confirmation of her suspicion.
Gotcha.
The Green Mask. In Green Lantern, Hal Jordan's identity is revealed in a way that completely breaks from the dramatic standard of superhero films. Here, the moment is lighthearted, almost an inside joke about the genre itself. Hal Jordan is a talented but emotionally unstable test pilot who ends up being chosen by an alien ring to join the Green Lantern Corps. Carol Ferris, on the other hand, is Hal's childhood friend, someone who's known all his flaws, insecurities, and quirks since they were kids. After saving Carol from an attack, Green Lantern appears on her balcony to check if she's okay. Trying to keep his cover, Hal changes his voice, strikes a heroic pose, and relies solely on that tiny green mask to hide who he is. The disguise lasts only a few seconds. Carol looks straight at him and she's shocked and annoyed, saying she's known him since he was 8 years old and that the mask barely covers half his face. To her, it's painfully obvious. There's no mystery, no suspense.
Hal? Oh my god! Oh my god, Hal!
The Prince Unmasked. In Captain America, Civil War, Black Panther's identity is revealed right after one of the most intense chases in the film. T'Challa is the Prince of Wakanda, a technologically advanced African nation that hides its true wealth from the rest of the world. After the death of his father, King T'Chaka, in an attack blamed on Bucky Barnes, T'Challa takes on the mantle of Black Panther, driven by revenge. It all begins in Bucharest, when he appears in full suit and goes after Bucky, the Winter Soldier, who's being escorted by Steve Rogers. The chase tears through narrow streets and ends inside a tunnel, with Black Panther displaying insane agility, running along walls and leaping between moving cars. As they exit the tunnel, all three are immediately surrounded by local police and James Rhodes, War Machine, who arrives flying in and takes control of the situation. With weapons aimed, Rhodes orders them to stand down, even mocking Steve by calling him a criminal.
Congratulations, Cap. You're a criminal.
That's when Black Panther retracts his vibranium claws, raises his hand to his helmet, and removes the mask. The mood of the scene changes instantly. This isn't just a masked vigilante, it's a prince, the representative of a powerful nation. Blind Lawyer. In Daredevil, the reveal of Matt Murdock's identity happens in the most straightforward way possible. The final confrontation takes place in the office of Fisk, the Kingpin, a powerful crime lord who controls much of the city through intimidation and murder. The fight is brutal, with heavy blows on both sides, until the villain finally discovers who's behind the mask. When Fisk sees Matt's face, he looks visibly confused for a few seconds, then bursts out laughing. He immediately recognizes him as the blind lawyer he had tried to pressure earlier, and mocks him, calling Daredevil the blind lawyer of Hell's Kitchen. The realization fully hits when Fisk connects everything. The masked man destroying his empire is the same Matt Murdock, the son of the boxer he ordered killed, and a man tied to Elektra's death, whom Fisk used as a pawn in his power games. Even after being defeated, Kingpin tries to maintain control, threatening to expose Daredevil's secret identity to the entire world. Matt shuts him down cold, pointing out that no one would ever believe the city's most feared vigilante is a blind man. The Nightmare. In Batman vs. Superman, there's a sequence that completely abandons the film's realistic tone and dives headfirst into a terrifying dystopian future. In this timeline, Earth has become a devastated wasteland, ruled by a corrupted Superman, apparently controlled by the anti-life equation, while forces loyal to him hunt down the remaining survivors. Batman leads a small resistance group but is eventually captured and taken to an underground base in the middle of nowhere. Bruce appears chained by the wrists. Suddenly, the ground begins to shake. Superman lands and walks toward the prisoner. As he passes, his own soldiers kneel in reverence, making it clear who rules this broken world. Without saying a word at first, Superman does this. He makes it clear that he always knew who was behind the cowl and, with rage-filled eyes, blames Bruce for Lois Lane's death.
She was my world, and you took her from me.
Saying she was his entire world. Bruce tries to respond, but there's no room for dialogue. In one cold, instantaneous move, Superman drives his hand straight through Batman's chest. Cut to Bruce in his hideout, receiving a visit from the Flash of the future, warning him that Lois Lane is the key and that he was right all along. But then, Bruce jolts awake in the Batcave, realizing it was all a dream, or a vision. Seeing this scene still makes me curious about what Zack Snyder planned for this universe. Yellow Suit. In The Flash Season 1, Episode 9, titled The Man in the Yellow Suit, the series finally moves past the simple villain of the week format and dives headfirst into a much larger story involving mystery, destiny, and time travel. Since childhood, Barry Allen has carried the trauma of watching his mother be murdered by a figure surrounded by lightning. Now, as the Flash, he finally comes face to face with that same enemy. The confrontation takes place inside a football stadium, surrounded by yellow lightning and speaking with a distorted voice. The villain taunts Barry, saying they've been doing this for a long time, and that it's the Flash's destiny destiny to lose to him. The fight makes the gap between them painfully clear. The man in the yellow suit is faster, more experienced, and takes Barry down with ease, leaving the hero physically injured and emotionally shaken. Back at Star Labs, the team sets a trap using a prototype tachyon device stolen from Mercury Labs. The plan is to lure the villain into a force field. It works for a few seconds, but he escapes, drags Harrison Wells into the barrier, and brutally beats him in front of Joe West and the police. The episode also plays with red herrings. The villain confronts Eddie Thawne, but inexplicably spares him, fueling fan theories, and then comes the final blow. In the post-credits scene, Harrison Wells stands up from his wheelchair, walks into his time vault, opens a hidden compartment containing a flash ring, and reveals the suit. As he connects the tachyon device, his body lights up with lightning, confirming to the audience that he was the Reverse Flash all along. Man, I remember how shocking this was when it first aired. It really was a fantastic first season. The show loses its way a bit later on, but that doesn't erase these genuinely brilliant moments.
Merry Christmas.
On screen, there's a video showing every single time Spider-Man's identity was revealed in the movies. Click and watch, I'll see you there.